This video will have a look at the marking criteria for Task 2 for Studies of Religion Prelim and see what are the markers actually going to be looking for in this task. Now, considering that you've been given the task more than 2 weeks in advance and you've been given the question that you're actually going to be given, even though you can't take any work in with you, we should all be looking at being in the top 2 bands here. All right, with what you've been able to show me in your class tasks, we should all, and because you got it early enough, we should be looking to be in these top 2 bands here. So the best way to do it is have a look at what are the top band students, are the markers looking for in the top band students, and then maybe working our way down. So we'll aim for the top, try to achieve that, and then see what potentially could we be missing if we're not in that top band. So let's see how we went with breaking up our task into the different areas and see whether it's mirrored in the marking criteria here. Okay, so for a 17 to 20 response, what they're going to be looking for is a comprehensive description, so we circled our key verb there, of the principal beliefs of Christianity. So in order for it to be a comprehensive description, what sort of things are we going to need to be able to do you think? Think about the paragraphs that we've already written. What things do we need in our, say we do a PEEL? What are we going to be looking for? First of all, if we need a description of a principal belief, one of the principal beliefs. Okay, and that topic statement would usually include a what starting with D? All right. So we need to have a definition of exactly what it is. What else are we going to need if we provide a comprehensive description of it? What's the next D? All right. So give an explanation of it, and this is where we would potentially talk about it in terms of its origin and how it's used in the past and the present. What else could we do to show we've got comprehensive? Exactly, an example of where this is lived out. And then what would help showing that we have a good understanding of it? All right, we definitely have to link it back to the question. What's in the very middle of our diagram? All right, so we have to find a quote in there as well. Okay. So that's what we do when we're describing them. We wouldn't necessarily have a paragraph on each of the core beliefs and then do 5 of those and then show the relationship with Jesus Christ. The markers are going to be looking for us to integrate these. So when we're talking about the principal beliefs, with the definition, we'd use how that shows a relationship with Jesus Christ. So this, what we've done here for a sample paragraph, we're probably going to insert other stuff in there as well when we have the examples of it. All right, next thing. Detailed, accurate, and relevant evidence. So I think we were pretty close when we were breaking it open. When we say showing how the principal beliefs help followers engage with their religious tradition. All right, so principal beliefs, plural. So we need to talk about the 5 of them. Help followers. We could potentially use the guidance that we've been speaking about. Engage with their religious tradition. Origin, past, present, future. That would be the engaging with the religious tradition here. Again, we need to provide evidence of those. Evidence is examples. So examples from the origin, examples from the past, examples from the present potentially. Don't necessarily have to do that for every single one of the beliefs, otherwise our essay will end up going for 5,000 words. Next thing that they're going to be looking for, highly effective use of the stimulus, rather than just an effective use of the stimulus or referring to the stimulus. You remember when we practiced this for the 5-mark responses, we were talking about the integration of the stimulus in our response rather than just tacking it on to the end. So this is a skill that we're going to have to work on using, okay? There's another YouTube video on my channel that you'll be able to have a look at how to do that. Uses extensive language and terminology relevant to the study of religion. So that would mean that your research is accurate and that you're using the right terminology or the theological terminology for Christianity. Presenting a sustained, logical and well-structured response. So this means that you've got a plan. You could have the same information but not necessarily have extended on it. Given a good example, provided an accurate quote. You may not have paragraph structures. So that's what the marker is going to be looking for, is that you stick with the theme of your response. It makes sense the way that you've set it out, and you've got your paragraphs, so you're stopping the marker and making sure that they start reading each of your paragraphs rather than just one big block of text. As we go down through the different bands of this response, you'll see that the only thing that's changed is the modality. So you've got to make sure that the marker is thinking that, say for example, the first one, you've got a comprehensive description of the principal beliefs rather than a lower modality, an effective description. Lower modality again, a reasonable description. So you've got to make sure if you want to be in that top band that it's a comprehensive description of it. And the same with the other dot points, from a detailed, accurate and relevant evidence to detailed and relevant. So some of the accuracy that you could be using that would differentiate between the two is when you're giving your examples, if you have the exact reference in whatever sacred text that you're using. Using the stimulus. Instead of being highly effective, like I said, instead you may just have an effective use, so that might mean that once or twice in your response you've done it effectively, you've integrated it. If you refer to the stimulus, that's more when you're just tacking it on at the end and you haven't integrated it at all. Extensive language and terminology relevant to the study of religion as opposed to the lower modality. You use effective language, but it may not show that you've got the depth of research there. Same, you might have some, instead, lower modality again, you use the language and terminology, but it's really not that accurate, or it hasn't shown that you've done a lot of depth in your research there. Fifth dot point, presents a sustained and logical and well-written response, like I've explained, as opposed to you've got a good plan for your response, it's logical, but it may not be set out all of that well. Lower modality again, you've got a logical response, but you haven't done your paragraph structure. It's not easy for the marker to have a look at and say, yep, I can see where this person's brain is and it makes sense. And it's broken up well into our response. Any questions on the marking criteria? All right, that ends this video.